Thanks. Right.
Is it in the event?
Yeah. So I usually have to approve it. Here it is. Approve. All right, there we are. Okay. You're all right, bug. I am gonna share. I'm gonna pick you up in a second.
There we are. Okay, so let's go share two.
Yep. Participants. Admit. Come on. Let's pin me. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Drag Queen Storytime with Miss Brittany Lynn in the National Liberty Museum. We're going to give everybody a few more minutes to join, and then we're going to get started. Thanks for being here. Again, we're going to give everyone a few more minutes to join, and then we will get started with story time. Thank you very much.
Here I am. Hi. Hi.
All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, welcome to Drag Queen Storytime with Miss Brittany Lynn in the National Liberty Museum. My name is Miss Lissa, and I am the manager of school programs here with the National Liberty Museum. Real quick, before we get started, we want to talk about our on-view exhibits. Currently, we are hosting art from over 150 local Philadelphia artists in our exhibit, Philly's Freedom. And opening on March 26th, we will have Strength and Fragility, the story of the National Liberty Museum, and this beautiful piece here called the Peace Portal. We've got some upcoming programming too. And to hear about that, please follow us on all of our social media. For kids and family, we have a Liberty Learning Live experience with our museum educator, Izzy Lopez. It is an exploration of our Philadelphia's freedom art, as well as a craft at the end. And starting Saturday and Sunday, March 27th and 28th, we will have take and do peace portals that are free with admission. We also have some grown-up programming this month. We have Bad Ladies of Liberty, an interactive virtual tour, March 28th. It's very fun. Please sign up. And this is for later. But without much further ado, here is Miss Brittany Lynn and story time. Thank you.
Thank you, Lissa. Let's give it up for Alyssa. We are here this month for National Women's Month, celebrating women, although we celebrate women every day. especially women like Lissa, the working mom. She makes things happen. We're all at home with our babies. I have my cat and my dog, so I'm a single mom with 2 kids, so I understand how things are. So it's good to see everybody. I'm really excited to be here. The National Liberty Museum has sent me these amazing books for today. We're going to have some sing along. The puppets are here. So let's get right into it. Like I said, this is National Women's Month. It's time to celebrate women and the women heroes that have made history. So we have some really good books today. So I'm really excited for this. And we are going to start off with this book. And these books were gifted to me by the National Liberty Museum. So it's my first time. You can hear the creak like, how new the book is. Look how new it is. So I'm very excited. This is called She Persisted. And it's 13 American women who changed the world. We're also going to be reading A is for Awesome. So some of these women may do a crossover, but that just shows how great they were. So, and this book says it's inspired by Senator Elizabeth Warren and in celebration of all women who persist every day. And some of her personal heroes are Coretta Scott King, Sophie Scholl, and her mother, Berta Boisier. So, this looks like the National Liberty Museum. So, sometimes being a girl isn't easy. I hear you, hon. At some point, someone probably will tell you no, will tell you to be quiet, and may even tell you your dreams are impossible. Don't listen to them. These 13 American women certainly did not take no for no answer. And they did what? They persisted. Harriet Tubman is our first. She was born a slave, and her story could have ended there. Instead, she persisted, escaping from slavery and becoming the most famous conductor on the Underground Railroad. She risked her life many times to lead countless slaves to freedom, including her family, friends, and strangers. Every person she led to freedom arrived safely. Let's give it up for Miss Harriet Tubman. Helen Keller is our next. I want to make sure you guys can see all this without seeing my living room. There we go. All right. Once Helen Keller became blind and deaf as a toddler, few people thought she'd be able to learn to read, write, or speak, but she persisted. See the theme here? She persisted. Helen learned how to do all three and not only became the first person with deaf blindness to graduate from college, but she also used her story to help fight for more opportunities for people with disabilities in the United States and around the world. And she says, one can never consent to creep when one feels an impulse to soar. Could you imagine deaf and blind and graduating college? Wow. Okay, our next woman, after her family fled poverty and the threat of violence in the Ukraine for a new home here in New York City, Clara Lemlich got a job working at a garment factory. She wrote that the factory's conditions made women into machines, and so she persisted, organizing picket lines and strikes that ultimately helped win better pay, shorter hours, and safer working conditions for thousands of workers, both men and women. And she says, I am one of those who suffers from the abuses described here, and I move that we go on a general strike. Look at her. All right, Nellie Bly became a reporter in part because a male writer had said that working women were a monstrosity, and she wanted to prove that women could do anything. At times, putting her safety at risk, she persisted throughout her career in exposing real monstrosities, pretending to be a sweatshop worker and a patient in a mental hospital to show how badly people were being treated. These women were no joke, right? Inspired from an early age by her brother's childhood illness, Virginia Apgar was determined to be a doctor long before many girls had such dreams. Even though she qualified to be a surgeon, the male head surgeon at her hospital discouraged her because she was a woman. Nevertheless, she persisted, becoming an anesthesiologist and creating the Apgar score to test a newborn baby's health, which hospitals all over the world still use today. Huh. Learning a little something too. After Maria Tallchief's family moved to California, partly to support Maria's dreams of becoming a dancer, She was teased by students in school for her Native American heritage and later was encouraged to change her last name to something that sounded Russian, since many professional dancers at the time were Russian. She persisted, ignoring all the taunting and poor advice, to become the first great American prima ballerina. Wow. Okay. After a 15-year-old riding a bus home from school in Montgomery, Alabama, Claudette Colvin was expected to give up her seat to a white woman just because she was African American. In her refusal to get up, she persisted in taking a stand for what's right, helping to inspire Rosa Parks to make the same choice 9 months later, an act many point to as the starting of the modern civil rights movement. I did not know that. When Ruby Bridges was in kindergarten, many schools across America, particularly in the South, still refused African American students their equal right to an education. Ruby wouldn't be treated like a second-class student, and she persisted, walking for weeks past angry, hateful protesters to integrate an all-white elementary school in New Orleans. All right, Miss Ruby. As the first woman to serve as both a U.S. representative and U.S. senator, Margaret Chase Smith could have let that fact alone be her legacy. Instead, she persisted in championing women's rights and more opportunities for women in the military, standing up for free speech, supporting space exploration. The head of NASA once noted that they wouldn't have put a man on the moon without Margaret. Sally Ride. Oh, remember Sally Ride? Sally Ride always believed women could succeed at any math or science career. Although not everyone agreed, she persisted and became the first American woman in space. That wasn't enough for Sally. She traveled in space once more and then created science and engineering programs, especially for girls, so she could help generations of young women achieve their dreams too, both on Earth and in outer space. Oh, here she comes. When, as a kid, Florence Griffith Joyner, Jackie Joyner, visited her father in the Mojave Desert, he would urge her to run faster and faster, to run as fast as a jackrabbit. Even when she had to leave college to help support her family, she persisted in her training on the track, then went back to school and got faster and faster. Her unbroken world record in the 100-meter and 200-meter sprints set in the 1988 Summer Olympics means she is still the fastest woman ever. Wow. Right? Huh. And here she comes, Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey's grandmother expected Oprah to follow in her footsteps and become a maid. Oprah knew, even as a little girl, that her dreams would take her somewhere else. She persisted in turning those dreams into reality and became a media superstar, working in movies, books, magazines, theater, and most of all, television, where the Oprah Winfrey Show remains the highest rated talk show of all time. Could you imagine if Oprah became a maid? What would we have done in the 80s and 90s? Watching fictional judges on television inspired Sonia Sotomayor to want to become a real-life judge when she grew up. She knew she'd have to speak English as well as she spoke Spanish, study hard in school, and manage her diabetes before she could one day wear a judge's robe with a gavel in hand. She had a lot going on. She persisted, eventually becoming a Supreme Court justice and the first ever Latina to sit on America's highest court. Wow. So, if anyone ever tells you no, if anyone ever says your voice is not important or your dreams are too big, remember these women. They persisted, and so should you. Very good.
Yeah.
Right? What a good book. Well, it makes you think, huh? Speaking of very important subjects and topics, I'm going to read the next book, and this book is called I Am Jazz. And this is a story about a little girl who grew up a little differently from everybody else. And we'll get to why. So she says, well, I am jazz. For as long as I can remember, my favorite color has always been pink. My second favorite color is silver, And my third favorite color is green. Here are some of my other favorite things: dancing, singing, backflips, drawing, soccer, swimming, makeup, and pretending I'm a pop star. I think we all do that. Most of all, I love mermaids. Sometimes I even wear a mermaid tail in the pool. My best friends are Samantha and Casey. We always have fun together. We like high heels and princess gowns or cartwheels and trampolines. But I'm not exactly like Samantha and Casey. Well, let's find out why. I have a girl brain, but I have a boy body, and this is called being transgender. And I was born this way. When I was very little, and my mom would say, "You're such a good boy," I would say, "No, Mama, I'm a girl." At first, my family was confused. They always thought of me as a boy. As I got a little older, I hardly ever played with trucks or tools or superheroes, only princesses and mermaid costumes. My brother told me this was girl stuff, but I kept right on playing. My sister says I was always talking to her about my girl thoughts and my girl dreams and how one day I would be a beautiful lady. She would giggle and just say, "You're funny, kid." Sometimes my parents would let me wear my sister's dresses around the house, but whenever we went out, I had to put on my boy clothes again, and that made me sad. Still, I never gave up trying to convince them. Pretending I was a boy felt like I was telling a lie. Then one amazing day, everything changed. Mom and Dad took me to meet a new doctor who asked me lots and lots and lots of questions. After the doctor spoke to my parents, and I heard the word transgender for the very first time. That night at bedtime, both my parents hugged me and said, "We understand now. Be who you are. We love you no matter what." This made me smile and smile and smile. Mom and Dad told me I could start wearing girl clothes to school and growing my hair long. They even let me change my name to Jazz, and being Jazz felt much more like being me. My mom said that being Jazz would make me different from the other kids at school, but that being different is okay. What's important, she said, is that I'm happy with who I am. Being Jazz caused some other people to be confused too, like the teachers at school. At the beginning of the year, they wanted me to use the boys' bathroom and play on the girls' team in gym class, but that didn't feel normal to me at all. I was so happy when the teachers changed their minds. I can't imagine not playing on the same team as Casey and Samantha. Even today, there are kids who tease me or call me by a boy name or ignore me altogether, and this makes me feel crummy. Then I remember that the kids who got to know me usually want to be my friend, and they say I'm one of the nicest girls at school. I don't mind being different because being different is special. I think what matters most to me is what a person is like inside. And inside, I am happy, I'm having fun, and I am proud, and I am Jazz. Wow. I got a little worked up. I got a little teary eyed in that. What a great story. So, obviously, this is one of the first children's books about being transgender. And I just want to give a shout out that the Trans Kids Purple Rainbow Foundation was created in 2007 with a commitment to enhancing the lives of children born with gender dysmorphia. And that Jazz is one of the co-founders for this foundation. Well, this is definitely going into our routine, this story. And thank you for letting me share that with you. Now, Lissa, she just stepped out for a second with her kid. We have a special presentation from the National Liberty Museum to show you. Did I catch you off guard? Sorry. We have a little presentation from the National Liberty Museum to show you one of our very special exhibits that's going on. They are open now on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And hopefully with everybody getting their shots and all this, that they'll be open a lot more. Maybe we could start doing story times inside there. But for now, I'm going to send it back over to Lissa and with a very special segment from the National Liberty Museum.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Miss Brittany Lynn. I'm going to share my screen. When I was at are you singing for everyone? I was at the museum on Friday so that I could share this exhibit with you. This is 3 wonderful women artists in our Phillies Freedom exhibit. I'm on the wrong slide.
You're good to go.
Excellent. Hi, Brittany Lynn. Hi, Maddie. I am inside the National Liberty. We are open. That's why I'm wearing my mask to the public on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with time ticketing. And I wanted to share some of our artwork that was created by women artists. So here we go. This is the first piece right here. It is by Christina Tarkoff, and it's called Dilworth Number 2, a joyful painting for uncertain times. And Christina says she likes to paint everyday moments in life in the hope in some small way I can improve people's lives.
Their museum is open
for a moment or two when they look at my art. Up next, I'm going to come down just a little bit. And here is a piece by an artist named Jamila Platt. And her piece is right here. It's called Chosen. And when she thinks about freedom, she believes to truly live in an emotional and physical state of independence. Her translation of freedom is through the narrative of being unapologetically joyful as a Black parent and a Black child. And I can't tell if you can see, but on this painting, you can see all sorts of sparkly stars and textures for that family. I really like this one. And then I've got one more for you by our last woman artist, and this is by Jean Broden. And this is called Pop Pop's Posse. And you can see 3 small boys, and she says she likes to create work that celebrates the life she lives in Philadelphia. She believes that our city is an amazing place of brotherhood and diversity. So that's it. These are some of the incredible works of art that we have in Philly's Freedom. And girls, get out there and create some art. Boys too.
Yay!
Again, we are open to the public on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays with time ticketing and lots of safety protocols in place. Please come check us out. And now back to story time.
Thank you, Lissa, and thank you, National Liberty Museum. They have a lot of fun exhibits. They often change their exhibits throughout the year, and some are there all year round. Be sure to check them out and support that amazing space there. So I'm really excited to read this book to you, and this is called Hidden Figures, and it's the true story of 4 Black women and the space race, and it's really incredible, and you're going to find out why. So let's get right into it. So Dorothy Vaughan, Mary Jackson, Katherine Johnson, and Christina Darden were good at math, like really good at math. In 1943, the United States was at war. It was World War II. Dorothy Vaughan wanted to serve her country by working in the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics. Could you imagine back then? The government agency that designed airplanes. It seems like so long ago, but it was they had this amazing program. Having the best airplanes would help America win the war. Making airplanes fly faster and higher and safer meant doing lots of tests at the agency Langley Library in Hampton, Virginia. And tests meant numbers, math, and math meant computers. Today, we think of computers as machines, but in the 40s, way back in the 40s, computers were actual people like Dorothy, Mary, Catherine, and Christine, and their job was to do math. Can you imagine it before there was even computers back then? Well, because Dorothy was Black and a woman, some people thought it would be impossible for her to get a job as a computer. She lived in Virginia, which was a southern state where laws segregated or kept apart Black people and white people. They could not eat in the same restaurants. They could not drink from the same water fountains. They could not use the same restrooms. They could not attend the same schools. They could not play on the same sports teams. They could not sit near each other in movie theaters. They could not marry someone of a different race. But Dorothy did not think it was impossible. She was good at math. She was really good at math. She knew she was the right person for the job. She applied, and the library offered her the position as a computer. At work, blacks and whites were kept apart. The white computers worked in one office in the building, and Dorothy and the other black computers worked in a different building in their separate office. Even though they worked the same kind of assignments, the black computers and white computers used separate bathrooms and ate in separate lunchrooms. America won the war in 1945, but Dorothy stayed on the job, still trying to make airplanes faster and safer. By 1951, the Americans and the Russians were competing to see who could build the best planes. That meant more experiments and more numbers, lots and lots of numbers. And more numbers meant the need for more computers. That's when Mary Jackson got a job as a computer at Langley. She worked in a group that tested model airplanes in wind tunnels, and a wind tunnel was a machine like a huge metal box with a powerful fan attached. Mary put model airplanes in the wind tunnel and blasted them with air from the fan. This experiment helped her group improve their designs in the models before building the full-size airplanes. Mary wanted to become an engineer, but officials said it was impossible. Most of the engineers at the laboratory were men. And to become an engineer, Mary needed to take high-level math classes, but she wasn't allowed to go inside the white school where the classes were taught. But Mary was good at math. She was really good, and she refused to give up. She got permission to enter the school building and take the math classes, and she earned good grades. Because she didn't give up, Mary Jackson became the first African female engineer at the laboratory. Katherine Johnson was good at math and always asked lots of questions. In 1953, she applied to the laboratory for a computer job and was placed on a team that tested actual planes while they were flying in the air. Their research was used to figure out ways to prevent future plane crashes. In one of her first projects, she learned how to analyze turbulence or dangerous gusts of air. No one knows how many lives her work may have helped save. Now, Katherine wanted to help the group prepare its research reports, so she asked if she can go to meetings with the other experts on her team. Her boss said it was impossible. Women aren't allowed to attend meetings, he said, but Katherine knew she was good at math as anyone else, and maybe even better. So she asked him again and again and again. Katherine asked her boss so many times that he finally invited her to the meeting. Katherine was good at math. She was really good. And because she fought to be treated the same as men, she became the first woman in her group to sign her name to one of the group reports. Look at these big computers that they had back then. Isn't that crazy? In the 1950s, the Langley Library bought a machine computer that could do math faster than the human computers. At first, these machines made mistakes. Dorothy learned how to program the machine so that they got the right answers. She taught the women in her group how to program the computers too. Look how big these computers were. Do you know that our phones that we have now are thousands of times better than these computers that they had back then? In 1957, Russia launched a satellite known as Sputnik into orbit around the Earth. The United States started building satellites to explore space too. For years, the laboratory had used math to design airplanes. Now it would need math to create spaceships as well. The government decided to change the agency's name from the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics to the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, but we know that now as what? As NASA. In 1961, President John F. Kennedy told Congress, "I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth." A man on the moon. But the first step of getting a man on the moon was to send an astronaut around the Earth. So NASA was going to need to hire more space experts and more people who were good at math, people that were really good. So the people at the laboratory had to work together from morning to night to figure out how to send astronaut John Glenn into space and bringing him back to Earth safely. Katherine Johnson knew she could use math to help. "Tell me where you want the spaceship to land and I'll tell you where to launch it," Katherine told her boss. So get this, Katherine helped calculate the trajectories or pathways that rockets travel through space. She had to plan Glenn's exact route from takeoff in Florida to splash down in the Atlantic Ocean with no room for error. Is that crazy? Oh, right. No one knew better than Catherine at solving these tricky math problems. Days before his mission, John Glenn wanted Catherine to double check the machine's computer trajectory calculations to make sure it didn't have any mistakes. She was so good at math, they asked her to check the computer's, stuff to make sure that it was right. When Catherine said the numbers were correct, Glenn was ready to go. On February 20th, 1962, Glenn blasted off into space, circled the Earth, and made his way back home safely. Well, meanwhile, laws began to change so that Black and white students could go to school together. Blacks fought for the rights to sit beside whites on buses and to drink from the same water fountains. At the laboratory, Black and white computers started working together in the same offices, eating at the same lunch tables, and using the same bathrooms. Black and white moviegoers could sit next to each other in the same theater. Across the country, people started to think about ways to bring equality to all Americans. Now, Christine Darden, who was good at math and she loved electronic computers, started working at Langley in 1967. Christine wanted to become an engineer, and thanks to Dorothy, Mary, and Catherine, she knew it was possible. Eventually, she became an engineer for supersonic airplanes, planes flying faster than the speed of sound. But her first job was to help with NASA's mission to the moon. The people at the laboratory prepared for years to send astronauts to the moon, which is about 239,000 miles away from the Earth. Finally, on July 20th, 1969, the world watched as the three men arrived at the moon in their Apollo 11 spacecraft. That's one small step for man and one giant leap for mankind, said astronaut Neil Armstrong when he stepped on the dusty surface. But it was also a giant leap for Dorothy, Mary, Catherine, Christine, and all of the other computers and engineers who had worked at the laboratory over the years. The moon landing was a success from takeoff to splashdown, but there was no time to rest. Once NASA landed astronauts on the moon, the people at the laboratory began dreaming of sending humans in other planets, such as Mars or Jupiter or Saturn. They started to imagine hyper-fast space planes that could travel around the Earth at 7 times the speed of sound. That's pretty fast. The next adventure wouldn't be easy and would require lots of tests and more numbers. But Dorothy, Mary, Catherine, and Christine knew one thing. With hard work, perseverance, and a love of math, anything is possible. And that is the story of Hidden Figures. Wow, that's a lot. And like I said, this is Women's History Month. So I wanted to try and find a song that we could sing together. And the best one that I could think of was the song made famous by Helen Reddy back in the day for the women's movement. And me and Allison right here are gonna sing it for you guys. Are you guys ready? I hope so. Okay, let me let me find the song. Here we go, and it is called I Am Woman. Where are we? Here we go. Here we are. Okay.
And
hear it for Allison here. Thank you, Allison. Allison was one of our Drag Queen Storytime puppets, and you can catch her on all of our Drag Queen Storytime programs. We have a very big announcement coming from Drag Queen Storytime coming at the end of this month. We are going national with a really huge organization, and it's exciting news. So Allison, say bye, Allison. Okay. All right. Break it down the fourth wall here with Allison. Okay. I have one more story for you guys. And that song is I Am Woman by Helen Reddy, but it was from the Sex and the City soundtrack from the second movie with Cynthia Nixon actually trying to sing. So this book is called A is for Awesome. There might be a couple of the women that we've already talked about, but this is 23 iconic women that changed the world. I feel like we're teaching a lot today. So, but let's start off. All right. So these are 23 iconic and famous women. So first we have Amelia Earhart, who was the first woman to fly solo across the United States. Look at her, Amelia. Oh, we can't go without letter B. Don't try and lessen yourself for the world. Let the world catch up to you, because B is for Beyonce. She is the singer, songwriter, actress, and producer, and all-around queen bee. C is for Coco Chanel. She is the forever chic designer, OG girl boss, and also Chanel makes the foundation that I love to use. D is for Dorothy Hodgkin. She is a crystallographer who won the Nobel Prize for succeeding in the impossible. E is for Emmeline Pankhurst, who helped women win the right to vote. She's a divine suffragette because, I don't know if you know this, but it wasn't until the 19th Amendment that women were allowed to vote, and it was called the suffrage movement. F is for the flamboyant and fierce Flojo that we talked about earlier, and she is the fastest woman of all time. G is for Georgia O'Keeffe. She is the mother of the modernist art movement. She says to create one's world in any of the arts takes courage. H, that we discussed before, is for Harriet Tubman, the brave abolitionist who helped hundreds of slaves to freedom. I, who I love, is Iris Appel, who proves that your own style is the best style of all. Look, doesn't she look like Miss Brittany a little bit? Kind of. It's going to be me in a few years. J is for chef and author Julia Child, whose zest for French cooking inspired millions. K is for Katharine Graham, the formidable first publisher of the Washington Post, the first female publisher. Look at that. L, we love her, is, see, Lucille Ball. She's a comedic genius and the first woman ever to run a major television studio. She had Desilu Studios. They did I Love Lucy. They did The Mothers-in-Law. I still watch The Mothers-in-Law. M is for Malala, whose rallying cry for equality and educator was heard around the world. N is for Nina Simone. She is a singer, songwriter, and activist. O, like we said, is for Oprah, self-made television icon, philanthropist, role model, and the list just goes on and on. P is for Pat McGrath. She's a makeup maestro and businesswoman, honey. Q is for Queen Elizabeth I, whose quick wit, strategy, and tenacity brought a golden age to England. Well, I'm sure that, you know, they said a couple things about the Queen the other night with Miss Oprah on TV. I still have to watch that, so no spoilers. R is for Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Supreme Court Justice and the Queen of Dissent. S is for Sacagawea, intrepid interpreter, and she was the guide for Lewis and Clark's historic expedition. T is for rock and roll superstar Tina Turner, who holds the record for the most concert tickets sold by a single performer. U is for Ursula K. Le Guin, prolific and prize-winning science fiction author. Okay. V is for Venus, Roman goddess of love, beauty, and victory. W is for Wu Zetian, the one and only female emperor in Chinese history. And X, Y, and Z are for the extraordinary you and the zillions of brilliant, brave adventures that you will have. Thank you so much, everybody. Like I said, we were celebrating Women's History Month, although women should be celebrated every day because without them, we wouldn't be here, right? So today, just to go over the books that we did, we had She Persisted. It was 13 iconic women. We had I Am Jazz, the heart-touching novel about Jazz going through her transgender experience. We had Hidden Figures, which is the true and amazing story of these 4 women that were smarter than computers to program everything for our space program. And of course, one of our favorites, A is for Awesome. I want to thank the National Library Museum for having us each and every month. Next month, we are going to talk about diversity. And after that, we have an environmental small changes program coming up. You know, one small change can make a big impact. Unfortunately, naturally, Maddie was feeling sick today, so he wasn't able to make it. But we have a whole new segment coming with him next time, and he's going to teach us how to make essential oils, and we're going to make some slime, and we're going to do some fun stuff out of stuff that you guys can do at home. He's really sad he couldn't be here because he was practicing the slime all week, and it came out really cool. It glows in the dark, and you guys can be really excited. So thank you so much. I'm gonna turn
Bye.
it back. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Lisa, do you have anything?
Do you guys want to
No,
say
that's
bye?
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
All right, I'll see you guys.
Thank you,
next time.
Raven.
Thank you, guys.